And I'll just hand straight to Maszlee to respond and to give us a perspective from a Muslim perspective, and then looking forward to your opinion. Yeah, go ahead.
Very good afternoon, everybody. Salam sejahtera. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi friends. Thank you, Reverend and Sivit, and thank you to the organizer for inviting me to this event despite all the rumah terbuka and Hari Raya. Yes, I missed one of them. Okay, so I did not realize that this program today is going to be held in a Methodist church. I have a very sentimental, let me say, memories with Methodist church, as well as my wife. I'm not defending. So it's very interesting. I need to share it. I cannot bear with that. I couldn't sleep tonight. I was going to share the story. I mean, when we were in the UK while I was doing my PhD, so it was in Durham, the northeastern part of the UK, near Newcastle. And we, Malay community, we like to stick together. We are just like nasi pulut, stick together wherever we go. Always we have at least a weekly, reciting Quran, Kaduri, or we have Maulid Rasul, we have this drama, we have this, event, that event. Normally it's all about eating. So the only not modest, I would say, the only small, not too big hall that we effort to organize our event was a hall within the Methodist Church in Awal, the place we live called Awal in Durham, a small outskirts city in Durham. So there's a big hall, but we cannot happen it every week. Need to pay, we cannot happen that time, And this Methodist church was very friendly. What was the name? Elizabeth, the one that I have came. So she was the one who dealing with the caretaker of the church. So we organized our first, buka puasa there, and she was very happy. Why? Because after we organized that event, not only we have given her some food, we also made sure that it will be more clean, it will be much cleaner than what it was before. And normally we organize that on the Friday night, and we said, it helps me a lot, because on Sunday I don't need to, to make sure everything in order. You guys made a very good service for us, and since then onward, she only charged us £12 per event, instead of more than that. So it's very sentimental, and when we're entering Methodist church, not again. Okay.
Not too more.
Okay. So my talk today, I only have 13 minutes or less than that. I'm going to divide it into two sections. The first one is my comments on the paper that we presented by Awal, and number two is my personal experience with evangelical churches and my insights on how to move forward. So, looking at the paper, it's very interesting. I mean, it does reply to a lot of controversies happen in Malaysia. It helps a lot. I really hope that Reverend would write this piece and send it to TMI or Malay Mail or Manaro.my maybe. Why? So, because it really opens not only my eyes, I believe a lot of Malaysians outside there about what is evangelical churches, what is evangelism, and what is, all those terms, and how people got very confused with that. And, in this era, although we are living with all the fake news, sometimes we need to speak out. Otherwise, that fake news will be perceived by others as the news. Okay. We should stand together. But the most interesting part is the issue of Jerusalem Jubilee. Not much, I would say, but yes, you're right that for Muslims such a celebration is clearly offensive. Actually, it's not only for Muslims, even for Christians in Viva Palestina, I would say, and even I have a lot of Christian friends from Palestine, and also a few Jewish friends who are against Israel feel offended with this kind of thing. When, these things fly around the world, it's viral globally, and they were asking me, a Jewish friend of mine was asking me, are you having this kind of event in Malaysia? Out of all those countries in Malaysia, even Jewish found themselves, the non-Zionist Jewish were not happy with that. They were not having a clear picture of what's happening around, but the word, Jerusalem Jubilee, commemorating 50 years, they feel offended with that very much. But never mind, you have cleared it and it should be published. Your response to this should be published. I really encourage you to publish it. And number two, about the misrepresentation of evangelicalism. I still remember, I would like to quote this verse from Quran. It's from chapter 5, verse number 8, where Muslims believe that God Almighty, Allah, I'm Muslim, I guess. No, it's my da'wah. And in Quran, Allah has told Muslims, He says, O you who believe, chapter 5, verse number 8, O you who believe, be persistently standing firm from Allah, witness injustice, and do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. Do not let your hatred towards others preventing you from being just. Be just. That is nearer to righteousness. Whether you like the evangelists or not, whether you like the Christian or not, whether you hate them or not, you must be just. You cannot judge them based on whatever half news you receive, or based on whatever misrepresentative of the information that you found. As Muslims, actually you should use this verse to tell them. People might be saying, macha evangelist. No. As Muslims, I have to stand for. This is what God tells Muslims. This is what Allah tells Muslims. Be firm, be just. Okay. But again, when you're looking at the current situation of politics in Malaysia, if you notice, let me change my hat now. Because by profession I'm a lecturer in political science and Islamic studies. So let me use the former one. Okay. If you notice, all this bashing on Christians only happen when BN is getting weaker. Or when BN UMNO is in crisis, they will resort in scapegoating others. So if you still remember, in 1990, when there was Semangat Paguna, when PBS won Sabah, and when BN was in a very feeble condition, you still remember the issues of prioritization of thousands of Muslim workers in Motorola. I still remember that. I was in high school then. That issues, 1980s, I still remember 1990, or even before that, that news spreading around. And normally, when UMNO getting weaker, when BN getting weaker, they need to find scapegoat. Normally, just Christians, the Chinese, Singapore, somebody from Singapore, and unfortunately this time it's DAP. And I don't know. Luckily, I'm not a DAP member. Because if I am a DAP member, I'm in a state of confusion. You know why? Because the same person, the same group, the same people who are saying that DAP is an evangelical Christian party is also a pro-LGBT party. I just couldn't fathom. Oxymoron. Christian party, LGBT party, and Communist party. There's a clear relation between Lim Kit Siang and Lim Guan Eng with Chin Peng. And there is clear association between Chin Peng and Chin Tong, because both of them have Chin. Communists, not only that, they are liberals. You know, as a political scientist who studied political economy, it's really oxymoron. Liberal communism? Liberal communism? What more, if you look at LGBT, evangelical churches? Yeah. I need to give up my study now. I need to make a new form of discipline of knowledge in learning about this de-epicology. But let we leave that to DAP to reply to all those things. But I think what I'm concerned more is the second section of my speech. Number one is, we have to admit that we are living in a crazy world. Not only in Malaysia. If you say that, in Malaysia we have fake news and whatever, no, it's not only in Malaysia. US is worse. Europe is terribly worse. And we are living in a century that I believe that people of the past, even the prophets, even the saints, if they live now, they would give up their profession. Because it's not easy. Because you're trapped in a world that forces you to believe in things that you think is not right. But if you don't believe in that, if you don't go with them, then you're wrong. And people will judge you with that. Overgeneralization, sweeping statements, perception, misconception, prejudgments, these are all norms that we're living nowadays. It's very unfortunate. People could easily pick up something from the net, from the internet, from the news, and overgeneralizing everything. It's not only the case of evangelical churches, but also happens to Muslims. You know the Islamophobia? I'm not talking about the US, I'm not talking about Europe, I'm talking about what's happening in Malaysia. The same thing. You go to the Facebook, you go to the social media. The same you find, people are, bashing the evangelical churches, bashing the Christians. The same response, the same thing you got from people like LVV, for example. You know that controversial guy, Alvin and VV, that came up with Selamat berbuka puasa Pak Chan. Bakute. And you'll be surprised, you go to the Facebook, you find a lot of information like that. And it happens to Malaysians. I was gobsmacked. You know why? Because we live together. Do we go to the same school anymore? Unfortunately not. We live together, we communicate with each other, we see together on the street, we swear to each other, we go to rumah terbuka or whatever, but the amount of information about each other's are not at the degree that we should embrace. There are misconceptions among Muslims, not only about Christianity, not only about evangelical churches, but also about other religions. Misconceptions from the non-Muslims towards Muslims. The same. So, how are we going to move forward? I leave that at the end of my speech. Okay. And number two, all these kind of misconceptions, preconceptions, prejudgment have been exacerbated when politicians come into the picture. When they wanted to score points. Regardless whether they are from UMNO, whether they are from DAP, whether they are from PKR or whatever, politicians always want to score points. To stay in power, they would prefer to divide and rule. To maintain the power, they like to see people fighting each other, so they say that, okay, we hold the order. We know how to keep things in order, so we must be there in order to make sure we are not fighting each other. The same thing, when we're talking about misconception, prejudice, and whatever, it all derives from ignorance. As a result of the lack of engagement, lack of dialogue, lack of mutual understanding, and lack of love. Okay. And talking about ignorance, it always comes when you have either no information, at least it's better, but half information. That's the most dangerous part. You just quote something and try to overgeneralize it. So the same thing, I still remember when talking to some, I'm lucky because I have two families, Malay families and Chinese families. Sometimes we talk with our younger generation, even my cousins. They only pick up stories or understanding about Islam from Chinese media. The same thing goes to my Malay family, they only pick up stories about, not only about Christians, not only about Buddhists, not only about Hinduism, about others from Malay media. Since when media become the sources of information, the sources of knowledge? No. Media only give you a very clean, brief things of everything. You cannot depend on the media. So, the same thing when we look at how Muslims look at Christianity. You ask any of your Muslim friends about Christianity, what do they understand? For them, Christians are one. The same for non-Muslims, okay, Muslims are one. Which is somehow true and somehow wrong. Because there are denominations, even within denominations there are churches, even within churches there are, different pastors and different approaches and different inclinations. Mind you that. Even when we talk about evangelical churches, I cannot say that there is only one evangelical church. I still remember 5 years ago when, the controversial about Buka Puasa at Damansara Church. Yeah. Okay. Just after that, a friend of mine, one Saiful from Ideas, he organized a very close session. Discussion about poverty and religion, the role of religious institutions. So we invited Reverend Harman Shastri. Is it Reverend? Harman Shastri. So I think I can quote him here. He said that unfortunately there are certain churches are beyond our radar, beyond the CFM. Did you call it CFM? Beyond the CFM radar, and we cannot control that. You have this Christian witness in the multi-religious world, and you have guidelines, whatever. But some churches, they just do things on their own. Just do it, no limit, and they're beyond the control of CFM and even within their own denomination. And not much they could do. But unfortunately, for Muslims or for Malays in general, they don't know these differences. For them, Christian is one. Catholics ka, Methodists ka, Protestant ka, it's all the same. And this is the failure of our educational system, unfortunately. Failure of our, like you say, social system. We are living with it. Some of us, we are crossing, in the past we lived together and nothing happened. That was the past. We're talking about the present. We need to change. If we are looking for a better future, we should change. How many times now? 5 minutes? I just started. Okay, let me go to my personal experience dealing with evangelical churches. How I came to know of evangelical churches. It's very interesting. Please don't feel offended. This is based on my observation and experience. It's not normative. It's just based on experience sharing. Number one, the very first time I heard about evangelical churches, it was from my Hindu activist friend. Because in Islamic University, we have a subject called Religions in Malaysia. So I was part of the panel preparing for the module. So we want to get all the information from the horse's mouth. So we invited priests, pastors, monks, representative of Hindu society, whatever. So, sorry, it was not Hindu friend, Buddhist friend. Buddhist activist. He was talking about a post-tsunami incident. He said that most of Buddhist society, they have to quadruple their efforts worldwide, throughout the world, not especially in underdeveloped countries, especially in Buddhist majority countries. I asked them why. No, we asked them why. He said, because of the evangelists. They are converting a lot of Buddhists to Christianity by giving them aid, by helping them, by helping the refugees. Yeah, they help the refugees. On one hand, they're giving bread. On the other hand, they're giving Bible. So he said, no. As Buddhists, we don't do dawah. We don't do evangelism. We do things to get good karma. So he said, we want to make sure that we still have Buddhist followers. So they quadruple their efforts. Not only in Sri Lanka, not only in Myanmar, not only in Indonesia, but throughout the world. But it's a good sign. I told him, that's good. Otherwise, you guys will be sleeping. I have a very staunch follower, Buddhist Suchi activist, cousin who lives in Johor. Normally, I make this joke with her. Okay. So number 2, it's from a student of mine. He used to study in UKM. A former Buddhist activist, then converted to Islam. So he said, now when I'm becoming Muslim, it's easier. I said, why? He said, because, I need not to do all this, activities alone. I said, okay, that doesn't really reflect what a Muslim should be. But anyway, so he said, my wife smiled because she knows who I'm talking about. I said, why is that? So I said, because when I was in UK, I was part of this Buddhist society. In the beginning of every semester, in the beginning of every new semester, we have to do a lot of work in order to keep the Buddhists maintain their Buddhicity. Maintain their Buddhism. Okay. So I said, why is that? Because those fellowship people, you know what I mean, not Fellowship of the Ring. Because those fellowship people keep coming and visiting the rooms of new students, asking them to firstly to go makan-makan, and slowly asking them to join the circle, and after that converting them. I said, who are they? Just evangelists. Now, this perception. So it came into my mind about, evangelists are doing this. Because they believe that is their dawah. But anyway, that's the perception. It's not only among Muslims. And my third experience is even worse. It's even worse. From a Catholic friend of mine. Whenever I mention about evangelicalism, he would be swearing. I said, why? He said, the intra-conversion, the stealing sheep. They are stealing sheep. They have no regard. So I said, okay, come on, please, the things that happen within your household, keep it there. Don't tell me Muslim. Or else I will make a lot of sensational issues over it. Okay. But again, I begin to understand my Catholic friend, after I encountered a very staunch activist from one of the evangelical churches from Borneo. We were together in a training program, and he saw me having a book talking about Christian Zionism. It was very controversial. And then he started the conversation with, you're into this? I said, yes, I'm reading this. He said, sometimes you need to clarify. I said, okay, good. Yes, as an academic, I don't really swallow everything. We need to critically accepting and looking into things. But anyway, he said, so I asked him, so which church you belong to? He said, I belong to. He mentioned a certain name of church which belonged to the evangelical church. I said, okay, good. Do you have anything to do with this book? He said, no. I listen to it very much. So I asked him a very interesting question. I said, what do you think about the Catholics? Then he started to show his true skin. He said, oh, those are just like Ayape. You know Ayape? We have deviant groups in Islam, and one of them is Ayape. He said, oh, those are just like Ayape. He said, what do you mean, those are Ayape? Oh, those are deviants. They are not really Christians. I said, come on. Okay, I don't want to start these controversial things, but I don't think it's appropriate for a Christian like you to label your Christian fellows in such a way. But he mentioned that clearly, and I was surprised. Why did he mention that in front of me? And another encounter with evangelical churches, you're right, I mean, most of the information that we have got about evangelical churches coming from America. It's very unfortunate. Whatever we have seen on CNN, BBC coverage, History Channel, Al Jazeera of late, especially during Obama's election, and afterwards they started talking about evangelical churches in a very not misleading. They're talking about what's happening in America, but give a very wrong message to all evangelical churches all over the world, including in Malaysia. But that alone couldn't deny the fact that there are few, let me say, activists or evangelical, maybe small, tiny, independent churches who subscribe to that. And you can see that easily in social media. I've encountered it a lot on the Facebook and Twitter, and they proudly say that. And whenever people like Azrael or Nikabdo, whatever, pick up that, they will overgeneralize. So, in a way, yes, you can blame those people of misquoting or misinterpreting, and at the same time, you must also address those that we say misrepresentation of the Catholic of the evangelical churches. Okay, coming to the end, I said, what is the way forward? What is the way forward? Let me look. Okay. I'm sorry, please don't feel offended of my experience sharing. It's just a mere experience. So, what is the way forward? I think the way forward in Malaysia, let me take another 5 to 10 minutes. Okay.
3.
Good.
Okay, 5.
Okay, fine. Make it 7. Okay. You know, while we are standing here, while we are organizing this event, I think first and foremost for social cohesion, we believe in mutual understanding. We believe that as Malaysians we should stand together for a better nation, for a better future for our nation and for our country and for our young future generation, for our children. In order to maintain that social cohesion, we must stick to the very first principle of harmonious living with each other, which is mutual understanding and mutual respect. Regardless whether you are Christians, whether you are Catholics, whether you are Muslims, whether you are whatever you are, Buddhists, Hindus, we must mutually understanding and mutually respecting each other. And number 2, after we mutually respecting, mutually recognizing each other, we must work together for common goods. And it's not necessarily, this is very controversial, not necessarily for the intention to convert others. Because normally when you're not sincere, it can be seen. It can be seen. Either while you're doing it or after you're doing it. And people talk about it. So, sincere is very important. There are a lot of common goods that we can work together. Helping disabled, working together for environment, for healthy living, to eradicate poverty, education, health, arts, culture, fighting corruption, fighting for the rights of the oppressed. We can stand together, without even, mutually converting each other. Okay. And number 3, this not only applied to Muslims, but also it's not only applied to the evangelical churches or to the Christians, but also to the Muslims. Be sensitive of the sacrament. Sometimes we think that we are saying something right. Yes, it is right, it is true, but it is not, the timing is not right. The way people perceive it is not right. the way people understand it is not right. Still remember amongst the words that oftenly being quoted and oftenly being associated with evangelical churches, they're saying that we are praying for the establishment of Jesus' kingdom in Malaysia. I think I know what do you guys mean, but that word is not being understood by others, and it sends a very wrong message. People say, ini sudah mau ambil Malaysia lah. They really want to establish Christian kingdom. They want to convert all of us. Why? Because they are ignorant. They don't have any information about it. They don't really understand that word based on what you understood from the Bible. So avoid of using those kind of things, in public, because it won't help for our mutual understanding. It won't help. And number 4, we need more dialogue, more engagement, work together, more mutually listening and learning from each other. I would hope that, I always say this to my Muslim friends, that Allah has told us in Quran, in chapter 49, verse 13, that God the Almighty has said that we have created you from fair man and woman, and from it came all the tribes, nations, for what? To mutually knowing each other. It's a very strong message in Quran that God has created us in different colors, different languages, different races, different tribes, and even different religions, for us not to fight each other, for us not to dominate each other, but for us to mutually learning from each other. And in order to mutually learning from each other, we must have humility. It's very unfortunate. Some people, it's not only in Malaysia, but all over the world, they have to take a sense of pride, the sense of supremacy, which will never help this cause. But with whom you want to work with? I will finish it, no worry. I know that's one of the indicators. With whom you work is very important. Sometimes, I'm not trying to give a very normative kind of advice, but at least based on my observation, sometimes yes, some groups or some individuals like Civil and Eugene try to work together with other Muslims or Muslim organizations, but unfortunately those Muslim organizations has been seen as those who are against Islam, those who are against Muslims, or those that are free. It will never be helpful. Even worse, it makes things worse. Without naming any group. But try to make friends with mainstream group that will be able to understand, and those who are ready to sit down and listen. For example, we have people from Gram, from Abid, and Makma. Makma is very important. Malaysian Chinese Muslim Association. I'm the advisor of Malaysian Chinese Muslim Association due to my Hakka DNA. Okay, so Perkin, for example, and we do have certain religious authorities like your friend, Dato' Zul, the Mufti of Wilayah Persekutuan, and maybe a very controversial Mufti from the north part of the country, Dr. Mazhar. You can work together with them. Organize and engage with them in a very neutral ground, with things that will not be controversial, definitely not on LGBT. For example, eradicating poverty, helping orang asli, preserving the environment. And for your information, Perlis, the state of Perlis, is the only state of Perlis that issued a decree, fatwa, saying that polluting environment is haram. And it's Muslims, it's obligation upon every Muslim to take care of the environment, and they started with slowly, because they have not started yet, but they're going to start a campaign of zero plastic usage in Perlis. So we should encourage these kind of things, and I do believe not only evangelical churches but also Buddhist societies, and even the non-believers, they also believe in this kind of cause. We can stand together, and that will eradicate these misconceptions and misperceptions of each other. Okay. And be consistent. If you fight injustice, let's stand together in fighting the injustice happening in Palestine, against Trumpism, against the far-right Christian extremists that begin to rise nowadays in the US and in Europe. You have seen all the incidents. But they are very unfortunate because they never get the label extremists. They're not there yet. Hopefully. Okay. So, but we must stand together. As we are standing together condemning ISIS or Daesh, we should also stand together in condemning those extremists. The far-right Christians, including Israel. And number 7, okay, this is very controversial, but I have to say this, and it's a very humble opinion of mine. I might be wrong. And I'm not forcing you to accept it. The very contentious issue amongst Muslims with evangelical churches is the prioritization of Muslims. Okay. I think in order to spread Jesus' love, the word of Jesus, it's not only towards converting others, but also towards sharing and caring and giving the meaning to humanity and giving meaning to life. We can work together in all those things. And because there are certain rules and laws in Malaysia, they are not allowing you to prioritize the Muslims. Why should you put that as your priority? The moment they see you fighting against the Constitution, the moment they see you fighting against, against the right to not convert the Muslims, it will further enhance the discourse of hatred. They say, look, we have told you, they are the enemies. They are pushing through this. But I know that's my very humble opinion. You may accept it or not. But again, we have a lot of other priorities. We have 99 other means to work together. And I think God will accept that. Okay, let me finish my presentation with a word of mine. It's not worth it. One lengthy sentence. I believe all religions and belief systems, be them Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, they have their intrinsic good moral and ethical values that we need in order to build a better developed countries and society. I cannot deny that in evangelical churches we have a lot of great moral and ethical value system that should be shared with others. Amartya Sen has explained that well in his book, Development as Freedom, as well as other thinkers and authors. We should work together to embrace these good values without compromising on our theological and ontological convictions. We have more to agree than to disagree. On the same premise, I believe evangelical churches teachings have a lot of good ethical values to benefit the nation too. Like what Hannah Yo mentioned in her book, how her faith has become a major motivation to fight against corruption and to embrace good governance. I would say that a lot of other believers of other religions have the same conviction. Why they are fighting corruption? Because they believe that Veda or Rig Veda told them to do so. Because they believe Gautama has inspired them to go against corruption, to go against injustice. The same goes with Islam, the same goes with Catholics, the same goes with other religions. I trust, based on my humble opinion, it is not worth to emphasize only on the petty issues while we are abandoning the greater cause for the nation and social cohesion. And before I end my talk, this is a very interesting document. Everybody got this.
Tell them where to get it.
Okay. I've gone through it. I've gone through this document. It's about Christian witness in the multi-religious world. And if you or if I replace the word Christians to Muslims, and if I replace the word Father to Allah, and Bible quotation to Quranic and Prophet Muhammad tradition or hadith, and add the word Muhammad beside Jesus, because Muslims we strongly believe in Jesus. If I change that, it would be Islam witness in a multi-religious world. And that shows how close, how similar we are. Actually, rather than keep on fighting each other, let's work together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maszlee. And I'll just come straight to